Okay, let's get going. Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Suzanne Carowin. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at NAFA, which is the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. We're here today to kick off our 2021 Future Leaders Program. We're delighted that you've chosen to join us. So whether you're attending right now in a live format, in real time, you're going to watch us on demand. We're excited for you to start your journey and learning more about a career in financial services. So to kick it off today, we're going to start with Delvin Joyce, who's one of our esteemed members, and he's going to talk to you about his journey and give you some extra insights. So with no further ado, Delvin, I will turn it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Suzanne. And thank you to all of the future leaders who have decided to join this call today. There's a lot of things that you could be doing today and spending time doing, but you chose to be here to talk about the financial services industry. So my goal today is to give you some information and insight on what this industry entails. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you can get involved and talk about next steps. Now, I would also hope to leave some time at the end for questions and answer. I would encourage you, though, in real time right now, for those of you who are joining live, to put that information into the chat as well. And we will circle back at the end and hopefully address some additional questions. Now, our agenda, I want to talk to you a little bit about my career journey and how I got into this industry. We'll talk about some career options that you may have an opportunity to explore as you graduate. We'll talk about some of the challenges that you may face in the industry if you decide to join, and the specific part of the industry that I have decided to tackle is financial planning. And so I'll spend some time today talking about why financial planning and why that may make sense for you and your career opportunity. Then we'll talk about that financial planning process so that I can paint a picture for you for what that would look like. And lastly, we'll again have some time for questions. Now, my career journey, I am again, a financial planner with Prudential. My practice is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I actually joined Prudential about 15 years ago, almost to the day, in North Carolina. Now, I came into this industry, I had sort of a convoluted path because I came into the industry from the NFL. I played professional football for the New York Football Giants. As I would imagine, because most people are Giants fans, we have a lot of Giants fans on this call right now, so you guys are right at home. But joined the industry right after the NFL, and I went straight into a financial services associate role. So that was in 2006. And what you'll notice is that in a year later, I was promoted to manager of financial services. And I often joke that if you are good in this industry and you join a major company, chances are, if you have a good rookie year, they're going to try to fast track you into management. And I always joke about this. The reason they do that is because they understand that the financial planner or financial advisor role is probably the best job in the company. And if they give you an opportunity to truly build a practice, you'd probably never take that job. And I'm somewhat joking, but somewhat serious. So I did that in 2007. My role changed to not only helping clients with their financial situation, but recruiting and training new advisors to go out and build a client base. Then in 2010, I was promoted to a role called Associate Managing Director in my company, where it was a training role for me to learn best practices and in some cases, worst practices. But the training was geared to teach me how to be a managing director for a firm. So in 2012, I got that opportunity. My family and I, we left North Carolina and moved down to South Florida. So I like to joke and say that I took my talents to South Beach around the same time that LeBron took his talents to South Beach. But I took over for Prudential as the managing director in South Florida. And I held that role for about 6 years. And I did that job for 6 years until ultimately I decided to make one of the scariest decisions that I've ever made in my life, where in 2017, my wife and I decided that we wanted to be closer to our families. We wanted to move back to Charlotte, North Carolina, raise our kids here. And so that meant me leaving that wonderful managing director job and going back into practice. Now, I tell you this story because it's very relevant to the conversation that we're going to have today. So I had two opportunities to make a career decision for what to do in this industry. The first was right out of the NFL, and I chose to go into practice as a financial advisor. The second, though, was after I walked away from the managing director role after 10 years or so in the industry, and I also chose to go back into practice. So I want to talk to you about what that practice can look like and all the different options that you may have as you are considering this career. So as I look at your options, I think there are three main options that you'll have as you choose an industry or an avenue to explore in this industry. The first is just as an insurance agent. The second is as a financial advisor. And then thirdly, financial planner. So let's look at each of those individually. So an insurance agent is someone who is going to go out and work with clients or prospects to help them effectuate insurance coverage in each of the respective disciplines. Now, the main disciplines from an insurance standpoint, and as you guys know, there's all types of insurance out there, but the three main insurance types that I would look at would be property and casualty. So you could be a property and casualty agent, which means that you help people with their home and auto insurance. There's also a life insurance agent where you help people purchase life insurance protection for their families. And then there's health insurance, where you help people effectuate coverage from a health insurance standpoint. Of course, there's a myriad of insurance types out there. These are the three main types that as you think about the career, these are the three areas that you may tend to focus on. Then there's financial advisor. And I think that financial advisor has become somewhat of a catch-all for, job titles in our industry. Because I believe that there are insurance agents who call themselves financial advisors. Then there's financial planners who may refer to themselves as generically financial advisors. There are clients who refer to financial professionals generically as financial advisors. But in the technical sense, a financial advisor is someone who has either a broker-dealer relationship or a registered investment advisor relationship, or both, okay? So let's talk about the broker-dealer relationship for a second. If you have a broker-dealer relationship, which means that you are a registered representative with a specific firm, right, who is governed under the authority of the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, or FINRA, then you are a financial advisor under the broker-dealer definition. All right. Now, there are some tests that you would have to pass in order to create a broker-dealer relationship. So many of you have probably heard some of these names before. They are names like the Series 7. It's a really easy test that you take over 6 hours, piece of cake, right? But it's the Series 7, the Series 6. This gives you the authority to make recommendations around either stocks and bonds or mutual funds. So that's the broker-dealer relationship. The other relationship, though, is as a registered investment advisor. And while a broker-dealer relationship gives you the opportunity to make recommendations about specific investments, being a registered investment advisor representative allows you to charge a fee for investment advice. So under a broker-dealer relationship, you're probably going to earn a commission for recommending investment products. Under the registered investment advisor representative designation, you're going to charge a fee for investment advice. So because you are charging a fee for investment advice, you are governed under the authority of the Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC. So as a financial advisor, you're either going to have just a broker-dealer relationship and charge people a commission to recommend stocks, bonds, or mutual funds, or you're going to have a registered investment advisor representative relationship where you're going to charge a fee to give investment advice, and you're going to be governed under the SEC. And if you're like me, I have what's called a hybrid arrangement with my firm, Prudential, where I can have a broker-dealer relationship as well as a registered investment advisor relationship. Typically, a financial advisor, though, is going to make most of their recommendations around investments. However, there are financial advisors who also have insurance licenses and can give recommendations around insurance products as well. Now, the other category would be financial planning or financial planner. Now, this is more specific to someone who is hired by clients to create a comprehensive written financial plan. And so I do think that, these terms get used interchangeably in our industry all the time, financial advisor or financial planner. And the way that I would typically describe the difference, because I do this all the time for clients, is that the financial advisor conversation is going to be rooted more in products a lot of times. It's going to be invest in this mutual fund, buy this insurance product, so on and so forth. Conversely, though, the financial planning conversation is rooted more in strategy. So if you're thinking about, your career options and your objective is to build a financial planning practice where you can help clients create a written financial plan, then this may be the option that you want to look at. Now, even under the financial planning designation, there are two different ways that you can work in a financial planning capacity. So I know the previous slide about financial advisor and broker dealer and investment advisor, all that's so very confusing. Well, I'm going to confuse you even more. Okay. So with the financial planner relationship, there are two ways that you can build a financial planning practice. The first is what we would call fee only. A fee only relationship means that as a financial planner, you have no insurance license. You also have no broker dealer relationship, which also means that you cannot earn commissions for recommending products. All right. So someone who is a fee only financial planner, the only way that they can earn income or generate revenue is by charging a client a fee for a financial plan or charging a fee for investment advice if they have a registered investment advisor relationship. So that's the fee only side. The key there is no commissions. The only way that you can be compensated or generate revenue is through fees in a fiduciary capacity. Now, the other side of the equation is something called fee-based. And a fee-based financial planner can actually earn commissions as well as fees. So while they are fee-based in the capacity that they create financial plans for a fee, or maybe charge a fee for investment advice, if they do also implement certain products with their clients like insurance or commission-based mutual funds, they can also earn revenue or income from those sources as well. Now, I happen to be the fee-based financial planner because I have a broker-dealer relationship with Prudential. And so as you look at the two options, it's very important for you to choose an option that makes the most sense for you and how you would like to service your clients. All right. So once you figure out, what avenue you'd like to explore with respect to the different ways that you can work in the industry, the real question now is, where do you go to work? So I think there are 5 main places that most people who are looking to break into the industry choose from an employment standpoint. The first is, if you decide that you don't want any sort of broker-dealer relationship, you're not going to do investments, well, you could just go to work for an insurance agency and sell insurance, whether that's property and casualty insurance or health insurance or just life insurance. But an insurance agency will give you an opportunity to train, develop, and learn how to sell insurance. The other place that you could go to work is what we would call in our industry an insurance-based broker-dealer. So that's a broker-dealer that has an investments capacity, right? They're registered with FINRA, but they also have certain insurance products that you can offer and sell to your clients. So an insurance-based broker-dealer, usually you'll have a company affiliation, whether it's like a New York Life or a Northwestern Mutual or maybe a Mass Mutual. You're going to have some sort of insurance company affiliation as well as a broker-dealer affiliation. What's good about this arrangement, though, is it's going to give you an opportunity to not only be insurance licensed, but be registered with FINRA as a registered representative, whether it's through the Series 7 or the Series 6 or any of the other licenses offered through FINRA. The other option, though, would be the independent broker-dealer route. Now, there are independent broker-dealers out there where you wouldn't have just one company affiliation. You're going to be able to work with a multitude of companies from a product-oriented standpoint. All right. Now, this independent broker-dealer arrangement would be something that a lot of clients may see value in because they may see you as unbiased versus if you had an insurance-based broker-dealer relationship, they may see you as having to promote or advocate for one specific company. So the independent broker-dealer route, while it may be a good fit for some people, it's not always the best fit for everyone. A lot of times what I have observed is that this independent broker-dealer route is not going to have quite the robust level of training that you would get in either an insurance agency or an insurance-based broker-dealer. It's a little more entrepreneurial. And so if you decide to go that route, you probably want to make sure you get with a good mentor, someone who can give you that training and development, because the broker-dealer is probably not going to offer that to you. Then there's something in our industry called wirehouses. These are firms that are more likely than not focused on investment management. You may have wirehouse advisors who actually have insurance licenses, but the majority of their income and revenue is derived from recommending and managing investments and securities. So you may recognize some of these wirehouses by names as Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo Advisors. These are all wirehouses that are really geared towards managing money. Again, while you can have an insurance license or you can create financial plans, the majority of the revenue is through investment management. And then lastly, there are banks. And I would say of the 4 options or the 5 options, banks are probably the safest option, the least path of resistance, but it also has the least upside potential in terms of revenue. And so you could be a financial professional or a financial advisor or a relationship banker, get some of these licenses that we've talked about and work with clients of the bank, but it's less entrepreneurial. And so if you consider yourself an entrepreneur, then the other 4 options that I talked about might actually be a better fit for you. Now, when I look at our industry and people who are new to the industry, there are really 4 main challenges that I see that everyone pretty much faces. And so the first challenge that I see is that most advisors or agents cannot clearly articulate their value proposition. They have a hard time telling clients how they would be uniquely benefited by working with them specifically as advisors. The other thing that I see is that many advisors or insurance agents have a hard time finding prospects. They have a hard time consistently filling their pipeline, or what I would call the top of the funnel, with new prospects. So what is that system for generating new prospects? They also have no true client service model. So Mr. or Mrs. Client, here's how you will be uniquely benefited by working with me. And once you are working with me, here's what it looks like to be a client of my practice. Many of the advisors and agents that I have encountered have not quite figured out how to create a true client service model. And then lastly, and this is more of a symptom of the first 3, there is no residual income. Now, for many of you future leaders, one of the things that you are going to understand about our industry at some point, if you decide to join, is that you are going to be woefully compensated for the amount of work that you put in the early years. This will be the hardest job you'll ever do for $75,000 a year. But one day, and here's a big part of the value proposition of our industry, one day, this will be the easiest job you'll do for $500,000 a year. And of course, we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it to help people. But I say that to make the point that if you build your practice the right way, if you build residual income, then that gives you an opportunity to help even more people because you're not out trying to find the next sale. And so by figuring out a solution to these 4 challenges, that will allow you to be really successful in our industry. For me, I said at the top of our presentation today that what I have chosen in my industry is financial planning. And so I want to talk really quickly about how I believe financial planning can help you to solve these 4 challenges. All right. So the first challenge that we talked about is value proposition. How will clients be uniquely benefited by working with you specifically? What is your unique value proposition? Well, what's great about financial planning is that it gives you, as a practitioner, the opportunity to help people with more than just buying a product. And I believe that there are so many people right now who go to a quote unquote financial professional looking for help. And they need help with their student loans, all right? How many of you future leaders can relate to that? They need help with figuring out how to buy a house. How many of you future leaders can identify with that? And unfortunately, in our industry, there aren't really any products that help people figure out how to get rid of student loans. There aren't products to help people figure out how to buy a house. That's all advice-based. That's planning-based. And unfortunately, if your objective is to go out and sell that person a product, you are less likely to help them with everything else. That's the value proposition of financial planning. And I personally believe that consumers right now are more educated than ever because of organizations like NAFA and the work that we do on Main Street. Because we've educated the public to let them know what they should be looking for in a financial professional. Clients are more educated than ever. And so if people are educated around how they want to be helped, then having an opportunity to help them with more than just securing a specific product will help you to create more value for your relationship with them. That's often where I explain to people that difference that we talked about earlier between just a financial advisor and financial planner. And while my company allows me to work with people in either way, the way that I prefer to start the relationship is through financial planning. And I tell people, Mr. or Mrs. Client, if you were to go to a financial advisor with your hopes, dreams, and aspirations, or worst fears and nightmares, that financial advisor is probably going to present to you some sort of product as a solution to that. Conversely, though, if you go to a financial planner with your hopes, dreams, and aspirations, or worst fears and nightmares, the financial planner is going to help you to create a comprehensive plan, a blueprint, a strategy for how to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. And Mrs. Client, what I often see is that people will go through their entire lives accumulating products. They've got insurance over there, they've got a mutual fund over here, but no one's ever actually helped them to organize it into a cohesive strategy to make sure that all those things are working towards their objectives. That is the value proposition that I present to people about financial planning. And so challenge number 1, financial planning will help you to accomplish that goal. Now, the second objective, and I'm really passionate about prospecting, what you guys will understand as you come into this industry is that one of the main things that keeps people from really being successful, that drives people out of the industry, is that they run out of people to talk to. They run out of prospects. And if you can create a value proposition, and for me, that value proposition revolves around financial planning, but if you can create that value proposition, what you'll find is that you'll be able to identify more people, more prospects and clients that are attracted to that value proposition. And the value proposition for me in my practice for financial planning specifically is that we help people who are first generation wealth. We help those people that may not necessarily have grown up with money. Guess what? They're also not going to inherit money, but they have challenges. And the challenges for people who are first generation wealth are totally different. And I tell them that I can empathize with their situation. We have the cultural competence in our practice to identify with them because I myself am first generation wealth. I didn't grow up with money and I don't plan to inherit money at some point. As a kid, I wanted Nikes and my parents bought Sykes, right? I also, I say my parents were trendsetters. We had a tiny house before everybody wanted a tiny house, before it was like the cool thing to do on HGTV. So because we have that value proposition, we find people who are attracted to the idea of us helping them as people who are first generation wealth. Here's another thing that we help people with. And this may be something that you encounter as future leaders as you come into the industry. We also specialize in working with people who are Henrys. Now, if you don't know that acronym, Henry stands for high earners, not rich yet. So these are people who, you may graduate with, and they're going to go to a Big Four accounting firm, or they're going to get a job at a large bank or at some consulting firm, and they're going to be making a really good income. Relative to all their friends, they're going to be making a really good income. But guess what? They don't have any money. But that does not mean that they don't have planning concerns. Just because they don't have a bunch of money for you to invest for them doesn't mean that they shouldn't start planning for how to build that house, or they shouldn't start planning for how to eliminate that student loan debt. They have planning concerns, and financial planning will help you to help them. We're going to circle back to that in a second. The last thing about financial planning is that it makes you referable. One of the best ways that you're going to be able to generate consistent prospects in the top of your prospecting pipeline is by getting referrals from your existing clients. And our financial planning process has created an opportunity for us to now say, and I never thought in a million years that I would be in a position to say this, we only take on new clients who are referrals from existing clients. If you go to my website and you call our office and you want to become a client, we're probably going to turn you away because we are only taking on new clients in our practice who are referrals from our existing clients. And we do that very specifically because the people that refer us for a very specific reason, because we've helped them and they want their friends and family to have that same type of help. And by engaging in financial planning, where you're not necessarily out trying to sell people something, where you're not necessarily leading with products, it's going to make you referable, and it's going to make people very comfortable introducing you to their network. And so financial planning solves a really big issue from a prospecting standpoint. All right, what about the service model? I love the financial planning process because I think it creates a service model just by taking clients through your financial planning process. It is absolutely built into the financial planning process. And so we have a cadence of communication with our clients that is not necessarily rooted in anything other than financial planning. And so when you create that cadence of communication, you also create a cadence of accountability. And so that accountability is where you're going to help your clients accomplish more. Where I often see financial planners or even financial advisors, drop the ball is they make a recommendation and then there's really no cadence of accountability or communication to follow up. There may be something that your client may not necessarily be able to implement right now, but in a year from now, they should have the resources to implement the recommendation. Well, if you don't have this service model, then you're probably going to have people that slip through the cracks and you just forget all about them. And so creating this service model creates a cadence of communication, of accountability, and it gives your clients an expectation for what it looks like to be a client of your practice. To give you an idea, for our clients who are investment management clients, right? So they've gone through our financial planning process, through the implementation part of that financial planning process, We've gathered some of their investment assets. Well, part of that service model, if we are managing your investment assets, means that every quarter, we're going to offer you an opportunity to review that account. Now, while that sounds like a lot of work, I can assure you that that is what makes us referable. That's what gives clients the confidence that we are absolutely doing the very best for them that we can. And so it's going to help your clients accomplish more. The best part about that client service model, though, is it creates a need for a renewal. So a lot of times, I would say more times than not, we have financial planning clients who renew their engagement, who renew their relationship with us year after year after year. So not only do we create a financial plan for them this year, they want to have us on retainer so that any change or any question that they ever have related to their financial situation, they can just pick up the phone and call us anytime. And we're going to update their financial plan each and every year to account for changes in their objectives or their situation. If you've created a fantastic client service model, that means you've created this cadence of communication and accountability. Well, clients really get used to that. And once your engagement is over, and for us, an engagement lasts a year, once that engagement is over, then they're more than likely going to renew because you've created this dependency on your advice. They've given you a seat at the table as the CFO of their financial lives. Now, what's great about that service model, though, is it solves the challenge of the fourth bullet, which is residual income. Now, there are several ways that you can build residual income in our industry. If you sell life insurance, well, life insurance in the first year, you're going to make a commission. And then in the second year, you're going to earn a renewal commission. Property and casualty insurance, same thing. You're going to earn a commission when you sell that auto or home insurance policy in the first year. And then in the second year and successive years, you earn a renewal commission. What's great, though, is if you sell enough of those products, eventually you'll have a residual recurring income that you can consistently count on year after year after year. Well, there are two ways that we build residual income in our practice, and they are assets under management and planning fees. And so the first thing, assets under management, that is where you accumulate investment assets from multiple clients. You charge a fee for investment advice, and you charge that fee on an annual basis to manage their investments. Well, guess what? If you charge that fee, and our fees range anywhere from 0.8% or 80 basis points to as high as 1.4%, depending on the account size. But you're charging that fee each and every year. And as the client's account grows, your fee also grows. As the client's account goes down, your fees go down, right? Because it is a percentage. So it puts you and the client on the exact same side of the table. Both of your objectives is to grow the account. So assets under management is a great way to build residual income. Planning fees, again, on the other side, are generated as you write financial plans for clients. And the way that we charge fees in our practice is 1% of taxable income. So we look at a client's taxable income and we charge them 1% of that number as a financial planning fee. If they want to renew the engagement again the following year, they pay that 1% of taxable income fee number again. And so when we look at the opportunity to build a residual income, if we look at AUM, or assets under management, first off, if you had $20 million in assets under management, so let's say you came into the industry, you hit the ground running, and you accumulated $20 million in assets under management over multiple clients. Well, and let's say it's 100 clients. So 100 clients, $200 million. You charge 1% on average as an investment management fee. Well, guess what? That's $200,000 a year in revenue. And you make that revenue each and every year. All right. Now, conversely, though, let's say that you built that same type of strategy, but with financial planning. Because the challenge, again, for many of you who are future leaders on this call, you may graduate from college and you're going to be, a 22-year-old who also just knows a bunch of other 22, 23, 24-year-olds. They don't have money for you to manage. It's going to be really hard for you to get to that $20 million AUM number. And we're not maybe necessarily going to be able to rely on Aunt Sally and Uncle Joe to give you their retirement assets, right? So financial planning will give you an opportunity to build residual income. So let's say, well, you may have, those Henry clients that we talked about earlier, high earners, not rich yet. They make a really good income, so they can afford to pay you a financial planning fee. They just don't have any money for you to manage. Let's say you were able to get 100 of those Henry clients paying you an average of $2,000 a year in financial planning fees. Well, that gives you the exact same $200,000 in annual revenue. So 100 financial planning clients paying you $2,000 a year is the exact same as managing $20 million in assets, right? And we did it without, people who've got a bunch of money, just people who may have high incomes. So as you think about your opportunity to be successful in this industry, I want you to think outside the box. Think about it in terms of financial planning. And the real key, and what you'll find, is that if you can do both, that's where you really win, right? That's where you get an opportunity to help people. You write financial plans and you acquire assets. All right. So of course, when you think about building a financial planning practice, you can't do it alone. These are members of my team. Again, we go under the DBA Prosperity Wealth Group. And just to give you an idea of who all is involved in helping us to manage our clients and our practice, the most important cog in the wheel is Ingrid Petrie. She's our office manager. She handles everything from administrative duties, calendaring, scheduling. I am personally not allowed to schedule my own meetings. She handles all of that. And she's fantastic. She was my assistant when we were down in South Florida. And when I did my Jerry Maguire speech and said, who's coming with me? She was the only person that grabbed the goldfish and said, let's go. So she and her husband moved here to North Carolina with us. And she is absolutely essential to our financial planning process because she handles the onboarding for our clients. Very important role. Last year during the pandemic, I think I was the only person that hired someone in the middle of the global pandemic. We hired Latasha Anderson. She is our paraplanner. And a paraplanner is just like a paralegal for an attorney, but for a financial planner. And she specializes in all of our data entry into our financial planning software. So we use a couple of different software programs to help us create the financial plans. And Latasha is a specialist there and does all of the input and analysis for us so that we can use that data and analysis to create the financial plans. Tristan Helms, I love his story because he is not dissimilar to a lot of you. We hired him right out of college. He went to Appalachian State. So if there are any Mountaineers on the call, he's a near. He played baseball at Appalachian State, graduated at 22 years old and came right into our industry. And now he's got 3 years of experience. He's building a wonderful practice as a financial planner. And while it's very challenging for him, he has an amazing vision for what this practice is going to look like for him. And he's having his best year ever this year in his third year. And that's what you guys will see. The business is really, really hard because you have to really build a name for yourself, build a brand. And then at some point, you're going to have an incredible amount of confidence. And I love that Tristan is coming into that confidence now where he can go out and feel really confident in telling a client that he can help them. Stan Banks is a financial advisor in our practice who helps us with some of our investment management and insurance implementation with our clients. And the same goes for Jerry Heater. He's also a financial advisor who helps with implementation on the insurance and investment side. So if you're looking for the overall structure, Tristan and I are the financial planners. If we have clients who are looking to implement our recommendations, we rely on Stan and Jerry to help with the product implementation of their financial planning. So that is how our practice is structured. Now, I want to give you an idea of what that process looks like, though, because as future leaders, you may not necessarily understand what a financial planning process actually looks like. Now, many of you may be majoring in financial planning, but some of you, this may be new. Now, the reason these are color coded is because that's how we have them color coded on my calendar. So whenever I have one of these meetings, Ingrid, our office manager, puts them in this color just so we have an awareness of what we're actually doing. The introduction meeting, though, is the beginning of our process. So once we identify a new client or prospect, either through a referral or through some other mechanism, we take that person through an introduction meeting where we explain to them how we work with our clients, but more importantly, we take time to understand what's important to them. What are they trying to accomplish? Is it college planning for their children? Is it their own retirement plan? Are they concerned about their estate plan or what happens to their family if they were to pass away prematurely? It's in this meeting where we get some of those ideas on the table for what they are trying to accomplish. This is also an opportunity for us to get them really excited about the idea of financial planning. And what we have found is that many of our clients and prospects, they've known all along that financial planning is what they want, but they didn't necessarily know that that's what it was called, right? They've known that they wanted to just pay someone a fee to be objective and unbiased to create a written plan for them. But many times they didn't know that that was actually called financial planning because there's so much confusion around all these titles that we use in our industry. And so in this meeting, we level set those expectations and we define how we're going to work with them. Now, once they agree to move forward, the very first meeting that we're going to do is what's called our goals development meeting. So now we're going to take all those ideas that we talked about in the very first meeting, all those things that they told us they want to accomplish. And this is where we're going to take a deep dive into understanding what's important to them. And if it's a husband and wife or a married couple, we're going to make sure that we understand each person's objectives. What you'll often find is there's going to be one dominant person in the conversation, whether the husband's going to be dominant or the wife or one of the spouses is going to be the dominant person in the conversation. And doing this goals development meeting gives both of them an opportunity in a safe space to articulate their concerns and their long-term goals. We believe that the work that we do in our practice saves marriages. So it's very important that you do this goals development meeting. Now, the data entry review meeting is where our paraplanner, Latasha, is going to spend 45 minutes to an hour on a phone call with him, making sure that she's captured all of their information correctly. All right. There's nothing worse than presenting this wonderful financial plan to a client, and then they look at the data and say, well, that's not right. We actually have an account over here. It's not over there. And my kid's birthday is wrong. And so in this data entry review meeting, it's an opportunity for Latasha to confirm that everything that we've collected, all the data and information, is input into our software accurately. The software that we use in our practice is called eMoney. So for any of you who are in financial planning classes, you may have heard that term before. It is a wonderful software program that allows you to create all these scenarios based on the client's goals and objectives. But it also allows your clients to aggregate their accounts so that you can see them in real time. So they can log into their company 401k plan and bring it over into the eMoney system so that I can see it and have visibility. And it updates on a real-time basis. So as the market performs either up or down, that balance is reflected accurately inside of their financial plan. It is a wonderful, wonderful tool. Now, something that's very important to me is the education meeting. This education meeting is an opportunity for us to educate clients on some of the important planning concepts, strategies, and ideas that we are likely going to present to them inside of their financial plan. I've had clients say to me that the actual education meeting was worth the fee. That was worth the fee alone. Because one of the things that I've learned in my practice is that if there's anything that smart people hate, it's sounding and looking dumb. And so you don't want to skip ahead to the plan delivery meeting where you deliver this financial plan, where you're talking about all these complicated concepts like Roth conversion and non-qualified deferred compensation, and they have no idea what these things mean. So in that education meeting, it's an opportunity for you to educate them on all those ideas, concepts, strategies, and objectives. And so when you get to the plan delivery meeting, the comprehension is so much better. They're so much more engaged. They ask a whole lot more questions because they at least have a cursory knowledge on the ideas that you are presenting to them. Now, in our plan delivery meeting, we delivered 2 documents to the client. So there are 2 separate deliverables. The very first deliverable, though, is the client report. That's where we have all of the analysis, charts, graphs, spreadsheets, numbers, and projections. That's usually 150 to 200 pages. So your engineering clients are going to love it. Everybody else is going to hate it. The other part of the plan delivery, though, is a lot more easily digestible. It's for us typically 15 to 20 pages on a Microsoft Word document, written in layman's terms, outlining specifically what they're trying to accomplish and the steps that we think they should take to get there. So this plan delivery meeting is maybe the most pivotal part of the planning process, but the magic really happens with the implementation. And so we have a separate meeting that we call our implementation meeting, where we create more of an executive summary of all of the recommendations that we had inside of the financial plan. So we take all those bullet points and put them on an action steps document. And in this implementation meeting, we explain to our clients that this financial plan, it's kind of going to be like buying a new house. And for anyone out there who's ever bought a house or seen your parents buy a house, we all know that, you're excited and the temptation is to go in and decorate that house and buy all the furniture and paint all the walls and make it perfect from day one. But anyone who's ever gone through that process knows that if you try to do it all at once, you're probably going to get frustrated, overwhelmed, and do nothing at all or go slower than you want to. Same thing is true with this financial plan. We're going to deliver a financial plan to a client. They're going to be excited. They're going to want to go in and implement, execute all of our ideas right away. But the reality is that they do that, they're going to get frustrated. They're going to get overwhelmed, and they're probably going to go slower than they intend or do nothing at all. So in our implementation meeting, that's our opportunity to create some priorities around what should happen first. It's also an opportunity for us to assign roles and responsibilities, for us to figure out if there are other professionals who need to be involved in the implementation of their plan. Should we include their CPA or tax attorney? Should we include an estate planning attorney for the estate planning recommendations? So this implementation meeting is vitally important. Now, once we've gone through that entire process, I talked about creating a cadence of communication. What does that client service model look like? For us, the monitoring process is the secret sauce. This is why our clients come back to us year after year after year. This is why our clients feel comfortable recommending us and referring and introducing us to their friends, family, and extended networks. And it's because we have a monitoring process to help them accomplish more. So after that implementation meeting, we create what we call an implementation checklist. And this is a checklist that we're going to update on a monthly basis, and we're going to send it to them inside of their client website to keep them on track and update them on their progress. The other thing that we do, again, part of our client service model, is we're going to get on a Zoom call or we're going to meet with them in person to review that checklist with them every other month. So we send it to them monthly, but every other month we hop on a Zoom call and review it together. And we review it together just to look at their progress. to see where they've gotten stuck, to see where they're having challenges, to see where we need to make updates or changes based on updates or changes in their situation. Lastly, we have an annual review meeting, and this is usually done on the anniversary of their financial plan delivery. So once it's been a year, we sit down, we do an actual annual review. We review that update or we review the checklist one last time. We update their net worth statement because we present that to them as their grade report. So as your net worth grows, that is an indication that we are implementing and executing your goals, your plan pursuant to your goals. We also discuss changes to their overall situation and objectives. And lastly, that's where we formulate next steps and talk about renewing their engagement. And if you've done this process correctly, most people are going to renew their engagement with you year after year after year. Last thing I'll share with you, one of the most impactful things that I had an opportunity to go through with my current company, Prudential, is they put me through something called media training. And in this media training, I learned this concept called staying on message. And what does it mean to stay on message? Now, what that essentially means is that anything that a reporter might ask you in the context of a media interview, you are going to stay on message. And you've got 2 or maybe 3 points that you are trying to articulate throughout the course of this media interview. And staying on message means if they ask you a question over here, you're still going to bring it back to the message that you came to deliver. Well, I want to encourage you, no matter what avenue you decide to go into in this industry, that you create a message. What is your message? What is your unique value proposition? For us in our practice, on message means that we have a mission-based practice to make financial planning accessible to everyone. That's why we base our fee structure on taxable income. We don't want to be the financial planning firm that says we charge $5,000 per person, because there's so many people that we want to help that we would not be able to help because they can't afford a $5,000 financial planning fee. On message is we have a mission-based practice to make financial planning accessible for everyone. Here's the other thing that's on message for us. If you ever hear me talk, I'm going to talk about helping people who are first generation wealth. Again, because I myself am first generation wealth, and I have the cultural competence to help understand the challenges that you may be facing. Lastly, for us, we are financial planning first. We know exactly who we are, who we serve, and why we serve those people. And we utilize financial planning to do that. So I'll often talk about the difference, Mr. or Mrs. Client, for engaging with a financial advisor versus a financial planner. And I only have one goal for this year, for 2021, and that was to deliver 50 financial plans. I didn't have any sales goals. I didn't have any product-oriented goals. I didn't have a new asset accumulation goal or assets under management goal. The number one goal that I had was to deliver 50 financial plans, because that way I know I am having maximum impact in clients' lives. Last thing, my good friend, not my good friend, but our good friend, Dave Ramsey, says, we live in a culture full of hares, but the tortoise always wins. No matter what you decide, when you come into this industry, there are going to be people who take shortcuts, do things that may not necessarily be things that you would choose to do in your practice. And they're going to get out to fast starts. And I want to encourage you right now to realize that as long as you are doing things the right way, you're going out and servicing people the way that NAFA has promoted servicing Main Street. You might be the tortoise. You might not be at the top of the leaderboard, but I can assure you in this industry, you will be a winner. So I appreciate your time and attention. I thank you for joining us for this first Future Leaders presentation. And now I'd love to open it up for questions. And Suzanne, if you can help me see if we have any questions or any feedback.
Absolutely. So anyone, if you have a question, feel free to put it into the Q&A or the chat, and we will be able to ask Delvin. I know, Delvin, I had one question already.
Yes.
And that was, if the question is, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but what they're getting at is, looking at how is this type of a career? um, I think when most people are thinking about financial services, they think about Wall Street and they think about boiler room, right? And they think about all that. And one of the concerns that one of the students brought up was, how does that look like with a family? Like you mentioned, you have a family, you mentioned those types of things, but is it kind of like a 90-hour work week first? Is it like a law firm model? Or can you talk a little bit about kind of expectation of time and what that might look like and how that you can balance all of that?
Yeah, I love that question. And one of the things that I would say has really helped me in not just my career, but in my work life balance is the opportunity that this industry affords me to create my own schedule, right? I am very proud of the fact that I get to take my kids to school in the morning. I get to pick them up in the afternoon. I get to take them to soccer practice. I don't miss any soccer games. I don't miss any of those things. And it's because of the flexibility that this industry affords us. And so I would encourage you, as you're looking at different careers, this is absolutely not, the type of career where you're going to be punching the clock 9 to 5. Of course, you will have to make some sacrifices and you're going to work a lot harder in some of the early years, but you'll get to choose what that hard work actually looks like.
So another question is kind of around the idea of, is this kind of an old school career? Is this going to go away? Is this something that, now this person said, hey, I just went on to X, Y, and Z site and I can look at getting car insurance myself. I never talked to anybody, right? Is this going the way of the dinosaur? What's your take on that, Delvin?
So I do not think that this industry will ever go away, because what we talked about earlier is that you are creating a relationship with people, right? And robots can't have relationships. People can't Google, how to build a relationship with, a financial planner or financial professional. While there's certainly much more information, people still need the guidance. And what I often explain to people is that if you can go to Google and get answers, right? But that's kind of like going to using MapQuest for directions back in the day. Now, you guys may not have any idea what MapQuest is, but to give you an idea, it was back in the day, we used to have to go to a website, punch in the address that we were going to, print the directions, hop in the car, and then hopefully follow those directions to our destination. Well, more times than not, and I see Suzanne laughing, more times than not, those MapQuest directions, what get you close to the area, but not necessarily get you all the way to your destination. That's what Google is going to do for most of our clients. Engaging and working with an actual person who's going to help you to create a financial plan pursuant to your specific goals, well, that's like Waze. And Waze has never let me down. And so I think there is going to be some automation, but the idea of building a relationship with someone, I don't think that's ever going to go away.
Yeah, if anything, I think it probably does. I think you have a more educated consumer, but then they actually start to realize the complexity and really need someone that they can talk to and talk through all the differences. This person says, and I think this is a common one that people have all the time. And this person said, look, I'm an aspiring Henry, right? But I'm going to have college debt, et cetera. When's the right time for me to get a financial planner? So this is a student talking about themselves and what that looks like.
Yeah, I would say you get a financial planner as soon as you can. And the big reason is intentionality. The sooner you can build intentionality into everything that you do and stop freestyling with your money, the faster you can accomplish your objectives. Undoubtedly, when I meet someone who's 55 and we're creating a financial plan, the number one thing that they say is, wow, I wish I had met you in my 20s. Because if I met you in my 20s, I wouldn't be working right now. Well, you are that person in your 20s. And so it gives you an opportunity to put some intentional steps in place so that your future 60-year-old self will thank you.
Here's a great question. This person wants to know, do you think that AI integration technology in regards to financial planning and advising is actually going to end up reducing revenue in the profession. So you're going to see kind of it flatten and you're not going to be able to really make as much money.
Yeah, so this has been a debate, I'd say, for several years, as more AI technology comes into the marketplace. What I would say is that that's where you have to consistently prove your value. And the more you can create a market specialization, the more you will not be, let's call it, technologied out of the industry. So if you can create a niche market, a place where you can actually grow and service people in unique ways, the more you are irreplaceable.
I love that. And I love that you were talking about, again, becoming that trusted and just relied upon factor in there. And I like the idea of not freestyling with your money. I think a kind of a corollary question that then the person asked was, they're thinking, well, now the question is, I wonder if my parents have a financial advisor, and if there's a plan in place. And now that you can see the wheels turning there, and could they use their parents' financial planner, et cetera. But it does bring up a great question, which is just how would the student bring up this with their parents to find out what the plans are? Any kind of quick advice on that?
Yeah, really quickly, I would say, bring it up at, Thanksgiving. So we're all going to be together for Thanksgiving, and just, start asking some questions. And because the reality is that if your parents have not done an adequate job of planning, then a lot of the brunt of their shortfall is going to fall on you in your working years. So you're going to be the person that's going to have to help them make up their retirement income shortfall, or help take care of them when they need long-term care, or you're going to be the one that's going to have to deal with that probate when they pass away because they did not create a trust and they needed a trust. So I would start bringing it up, have open dialogue with your parents, and maybe that will spur the conversation.
All right, well, that's all the time we have. Thank you, Delvin, so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at the next installment of our Future Leaders program. Take care.
Thank you.